Welcome back, and today we are going to be looking at some battle rating changes. Now, I don't agree with all of them, I also don't disagree with all of them, but there is a little bit of a trend going on. It's mostly the old legacy 9.0 planes, when it was top tier, going down in BR. I wonder if it has something to do with the F104A, the MiG-19, the Yak-38, you know, all those completely under-tiered planes. I wonder if it has something to do with that these planes aren't performing as well as they could be. Compression, of course, has been getting so bad that it really doesn't matter where you put stuff anymore, because it all becomes basically an RNG shitfest anyway. It kind of just comes down to whatever BR bracket you are in when the game starts and whatever the enemy queued up, and that's gonna basically determine the effectiveness of your plane. Fantastic. Not a fan, but that's again not what I want to hammer on about today. I want to look at all the changes. I have the spreadsheet on my right screen right here, and I don't want to go by the order of the spreadsheet, because then I'm going to be jumping around every time, because the way they ordered it makes absolutely no sense. I'm going to try to stay on topic. I know I'm exceptionally good at that stuff, but I'm going to try my best today and not make this a 40-minute video. So let's get right into it. Basically, every nation has something going down. Some nations have something going up. There's only two planes getting a BR increase. Essentially, everything is going down, and it's all the old legacy 9.0 top tier planes. And if you know me, I've been playing this game for a while now, and these were the planes that I kind of grew up with before the they had afterburners, but you know what I mean. Old 9.0, old meta, only guns, no missiles, no supersonics. A little bit of a head-on fest back then, and I do think it's a little bit over-glorified, but, you know, that's not the topic of today's video. Let's take a look at the legacy jets that are getting decreased in BR. Starting off with the F2 Saber, going from 9.0 to 8.7. This thing might be actually pretty strong now. If you don't get up tier to like 9.3 and above, this thing is pretty good. Guns hit hard, it's easy to aim, it's easy to use. And now with the fuel slider, you don't have to run 7 minutes, you can go like 8 to 9. A little bit more longevity, just a little bit stronger overall. And 8.7 I think is going to be a decent pick. It is going to fight 7.7s, which I think is a little bit laughable, because what is an F-84G going to do against this thing? But you know, that's not the topic of today's video. The F-25s are also going down. They are going to go down from 8.7 to 8.3. The F-25 is identical to the F-35 Saber that you might have. It's the premium that you have down here somewhere. I think it's a rank 5 together with the F-25 at the same rank. Same BR. It's also going down. It's also the same plane as the F-30 Saber for the Japanese tech tree, as well as the F-30 for the Chinese tech tree. Then the A5 Saber is also going down, and that thing is going from 8.3 to 8.0. And here it becomes, to me, a little bit questionable. Yes, it's a worse plane than the F-25. The issue is that with the compression that we have, some planes with not so equal performance need to be the same BR. This thing at 8.0 is going to be a bit of a menace. Having to deal with a plane like this in your 262A1, well, I'm going to tell you good luck, because you're not going to have a lot of fun. And this is not where it ends. We also have a little bit of another issue. I say an issue, for some people it's going to be absolutely pogging, because the MiG-15 is going to go to 8.3. The MiG-15 bis at 8.3 is also going to be a bit of a menace. Yes, it struggles severely with 9.3s, but the real way to fix that issue is by moving the 9.3s up, or the 9.7s up, instead of all this shit down. Starting jets do not have a singular chance versus these planes. The MiG-15 at 8.3 is gonna be absolutely filthy. And then we also have another MiG-15, the MiG-15 regular. This thing is also gonna go to 8.0. Now 8.0 with the MiG-15, yes, it's not very ergonomic to play. The engine is worse than the MiG-15 bis. It doesn't have boosted ailerons. And because of that, the roll rate is absolutely dog shit, especially at medium to high speed. And yes, it's gonna be not very easy to kill many people. However, the performance is there. It is gonna be extremely strong. But again, these are questionable. This one is downright criminal. The MiG-15 bis is like 1 to 2% worse than the regular MiG-15 bis. But this thing is going from 8.3 to 8.0. Blatant pay to win. Not a fan of it, and I think this actually is like breaching the border of being just completely bullshit. This thing at 8.3 is already very strong. If you know how I did in this thing, I don't need to explain anything. This thing is absolute filth already at 8.3. 8.0 is definitely not necessary, especially with the ground loadout. I know that Gaijin likes to balance stuff about ground RB, and this thing is just straight up better in that regard than the regular 15 bis, so I'm not entirely sure why this is a lower BR, other than of course the absolute fantastic metric that they use called, say it with me, stat-based balancing. Absolutely fantastic. Then we have some other planes going down. I'm going to go back to Germany because I'm talking about the mix now, so I'm going to keep talking about the mix. The mix 17 is going down to 8.7. I think that is fair. 9.0 is a little bit rough right now, and it just doesn't have the accessibility to missiles, like, you know, afterburners, very good acceleration at high end, and it does kind of get its teeth kicked in. It's still a decent plane at 9.0, don't get me wrong, but 8.7 I think is completely fair. There are some other planes, however, that we haven't seen on the spreadsheet just yet. The first of them is going to be the Shenyang F5 at 9.3, which I think they don't need to be 0.6 away. I think this one can go down to 9.0 as well, despite it having AIM-9Bs. That's besides the point, because another plane like that is also going down. And then also we have the Italian MiG-17 PF, which is going down to 8.7 as well. So I think that the Shenyang going to 9.0 would be fair, because it kind of goes in line with the Germany's CL-13 Mark 6. Mark 6 going to 9.0 I think is definitely needed. AIM-9Bs, sure. Extremely good performance for a subsonic. This is probably one of the best subsonics in the game, next to like the Ariete. Yes, the 50 cals aren't all that fantastic, but the performance is there. You have the A5 wings with an absolutely monster engine, and with the fuel changes, instead of having to run 6 or 20 minutes, you can actually run 9 or 10 and actually be pretty damn competitive. This one is going to be a plane that I will be taking out very soon if it actually rolls out like it does right now. And this is a plane that I'm actually kind of looking forward to flying, because, well, the 20-minute fuel load was way too much. You rip the wings off with the slider studs. And 6 minutes, especially with the bigger maps that you've gotten nowadays, is simply not... It doesn't work. It's not something that you want to do. Then you have the CL-13 Mark 5, which is also going down from 9.0 to 8.7. Still same BR as the F2. I think it's definitely needed. 9.0 is absolutely wild. The funny thing is that I'm kind of wondering where the Hunter F1 is in all of this, because the Hunter F1... sure, it has good guns, but in the current meta, the Hunter F1 is rather painful. It's a plane that's all about being faster, having top-end acceleration, and having a lot of nose authority at high speed. This thing, the second you go below 900, is absolutely cheeks. It is dog shit. And yet, the plane that copes the worst with the meta changes, because the Hunter was actually top dog back in the day, is the plane that's going to stay the highest BR. A little bit questionable, but you know, we might see it in the future, but for now we just have to cope about it. And then I also have another plane that I want to touch on. We have the F86 F40, which I think with the current compression should be 8.7 as well. I think it's somewhat equal to the F2, mainly because of the guns that it has. Yes, the wing slats are very good. It's a very strong Saber model. But with the compression that we have, I think 8.7 should be fair. Of course, I would up tier it if I could, but I'm not in charge of battle rating changes. So I'm just going to say what I want in the current universe of the War Thunder spectrum. And that's really it when it comes to the Sabers, other than the last one, which is still kind of funny to me, the CL-13 Mark IV, which is an A5 Saber without the wing slats, which is still going to be a higher BR than the A5. Also, the A5 is going to be the same BR as a Vampire. Absolutely fantastic, considering the A5 goes like 250 kilometers an hour quicker than it, and it still turns quite okay. But you know, again, that is not what we are going to be talking about today. Then we have basically all the MiGs and the Sabers out of the way, which is the most of the changes actually. We of course have the J4, J2, and these are the same as the 17 as well as the MiG-15. And then we have the Q5A, which is going up in BR, and I think this is completely necessary. This thing is disgusting. If you watched my Yak-28 video, or perhaps even my Q5A video like a year and a half ago, you know that these planes are virtually untouchable. You have countermeasures, you have almost infinite amount of energy, and you fly it like a little bit of a fatter MiG-19. The MiG-19 is already under tiered at 9.3. I don't want to hear it, that thing is bullshit. Same as the F-104A. But again, hey, that's not the point of this video, but I'm still gonna keep hammering onto it because it is necessary. Q5 going up, absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure if it's for ground RB or for air RB. It doesn't really matter to me. It needs to go up. It's an absolute nuisance to fight, and also kind of annoying to fly because everyone you fight is extremely maneuverable. It's gonna be a little bit less bad now because a lot of planes are going down, which means that you are gonna be seeing a lot less of those planes, the old subsonics. But planes like the Ariete just absolutely hard counter you. And as much as I hate the Ariete for that, because it's such a brain-dead plane, if it bullies this thing, I'm completely fine with it. And we also have the AMX, which is going up to 10.7, which I think is a bit of a shame. I do like this thing in RRB. I think it's kind of fun. It's good at high speed. It maintains its energy well. It turns quite well. The second you get to like a prolonged fight, this thing just falls out of the air. But the issue is that this thing just has some ground ordnance, which probably made it go up a little bit in BR. Then we have the Mirage 3C, and the 3C I think is fair at 10.0. It's not the best plane. It only has like 3 missiles. One of them is absolutely cheeks. Wait, does it have 3 missiles? Yes, it does have 3 missiles. I haven't flown this thing since the custom loadout changes. You have 2 magics, which I think is completely fair. That this thing is at 10.0. It's not the best. It doesn't have countermeasures. It's kind of on the weak end. It's a little bit worse than something like the MiG-29 or MiG-21 SMT, for example, or the MF. So I do think that it's fair that this thing is going to be a slightly lower BR as well. And then lastly, we have the Swedish AGS 37. I'm not entirely sure why. It is going down in BR. I don't think it was that bad, but it's also not very good. This is one of those nothing burgers where I say it doesn't really matter. I think it's fine. I can't complain about it, but I also can't really tell you why it is going up or down in BR. Now, I have, of course, the gun pod on one wing and countermeasures on the other. I made a video on this thing. People ask me to remake it all the time. I'm not entirely sure why, but, you know, I might in the future, but I don't really think anything changed since the last time I made a video on this thing. Then we also have some other planes going down, mainly the PB4Ys, and it's the French one, the Chinese one, as well as the American one. I'm just going to look at the American one for now. Should be down here somewhere. These are going from 5.0 to 4.7. The last time I kind of coped about this plane, and I did understand your comments. But I think at this point 4.7 is a little bit too low. The gunner coverage is quite excessive. You say that the belly is open, but you can basically not approach it. And at 4.7, yeah, I think it's a little bit too decked out. But I am a certified bomber hater. You know that. I try to fly those things like fighters, and I do think that the PB4Y at 5.0 was kind of fine. But you know, what can you do about it? And that's about it. There are some things that I do want to touch up on, like the Shenyang F5 going down. I do think that it needs to drop a little bit, because it's basically the same as the LIM 5P, except that it has a 37 as well as missiles on the wingtips, but they're only AIM-9Bs. They don't really do that much, and I think that you want to kind of put all the subsonics together instead of, you know, still having compression and then trying to spread out the very equal E-planes. Because the Shenyang F5 is not equal to something like a MiG-19 or an F-104. The F-104 is disgusting. It needs to go back up to 9.7 or at least 10.0. You know, somewhere around that. I said that the other way around, but you know what I'm saying. It doesn't need to fight planes that go literally half its speed. The F-104 can see 8.3, right? So let's take a look at some 8.3 planes. So why can't it see the Javelin? Hello? Like, why is this a thing? Why is the Venom 8.7? You know, the battle rating changes make no sense. Why is this thing 9.3? It has 4 R60s. It goes almost super. It does go like supersonic. It's super fast. I forgot the speed on top of my head. I also don't care. I'll look it up sometime else. But why is this fair? But again, I'm not gonna get stuck on that, because then this video is gonna be 6 hours long. And I'm actually kind of busy. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to add, feel free to do so in the comments. But until next time, I'll see you on Monday.